Welcome back to the Basement Breakdown. First things first, we had a very successful week last week, going 11 for 13, I believe, on picks for Mario Bautista versus Vinicius Oliveira. It was a pretty exciting card. Also in jiu-jitsu, in the jiu-jitsu world, number 1 and number 2, Gordon Ryan and Craig Jones have been going at it a little bit. I don't really want to say too much about that just because I don't know what I can and cannot say on YouTube, but I highly suggest you guys check that out because it's quite interesting, to say the least. Yeah, Craig Jones has been very vocal. In addition to that, the UFC cut Jailton Almeida, their number 6 heavyweight, after last weekend's performance, I believe, versus Rizvan Kuniev. I believe the UFC is making a bit more of an example of some of these fighters now, especially after that. Jailton Almeida at one point was considered almost for a championship. I remember when he was one fight away from fighting for a championship, and perhaps we thought he would be a opponent for Tom Aspinall at a point, but now he's no longer fighting in the UFC after a stinker of a performance. Yeah, that's what happens. It's a little bit of a gray area because the UFC will keep guys like Tai Tuivasa in the heavyweight division who have lost 6 fights in a row. But yeah, I don't know if the UFC going into this Paramount era is as tolerable of certain things as they once were. But we'll see going forward. I thought that was pretty big news. Number 6 heavyweight getting removed after 2 stinky performances. What else? We have got Ronda Rousey coming back to face... Let me just bring up her name. I know her as the girl from The Mandalorian. Gina Carano, who fought in Strikeforce. Her last fight was in 2009, which I believe she suffered her first MMA loss. And yeah, that's pretty crazy. Ronda Rousey was rumored to come back and fight, I believe, Amanda Serrano or Taylor. These are 2 female boxers, which I would not want to see personally because Ronda Rousey is terrible at boxing, so I don't know why that was ever rumored. But she's coming back to fight, and I think Ariel Helwani will be commentating, and I'm sure he's salivating at this. What else do we have to talk about before we get into the card? I don't know. We could talk a lot about other things, but without further ado, let's get into it. We go into the women's flyweight division. We have Carli Judice versus Juliana Miller. Yeah, Carli Judice is going to be almost a minus 750 favorite for this fight. She's got, I like to think of her as like a, I don't know, like a female Dustin Poirier. Is that perhaps too gracious? Like, she started off in the Contender Series, you know, she went to a war with Ernesto, not going to try and pronounce her last name, and then she fought Gabriela Fernandez, where she lost a split decision where I honestly thought she could have won. And Gabri Fernandez is hella tough. She beat Eunice Duben and Nicole Kalari last time by knockout, so she's won by a knee and a kick last 2 times out. She's got very good striking, which is more than I can say for her opponent, Juliana Miller. Kind of crap. Her last time out, she beat Ivana Petrovic in a very boring, very typical women's, 3-round bout. Before that, she lost to Luana Santos, and before that, Veronica Hardy. If I had to put money on this, which I won't, I am going to have to go with... Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Carli Judice to win this fight. I just think that she's much better. She's a heavy favorite. Juliana Miller's tough, so I'm sure in typical fashion this will go 3 rounds. We move up to the featherweight division. We have Jordan Leavitt, the Monkey King. Very zesty in the featherweight division, taking on Yadier Del Valle. I don't know if you guys remember last time Yadier Del Valle was part of a fight against Isaac Delgarian, where a couple hours before the fight actually took place, the lines moved for the fight. So Isaac Delgarian was a very heavy favorite, and then the line heavily moved in more favor of Del Valle. When I saw that, I was like, okay, something's wrong. Did Isaac Delgarian get injured or something? And because of that, I honestly put money on Yadier Del Valle, and I remember watching that fight. And Yadier Del Valle beat the crap out of Isaac Delgarian, and Isaac Delgarian looked compromised. After that fight, the UFC looked into it, and they cut Isaac Delgarian because of that whole situation. So that was Yadier Del Valle's last fight, which was a little bit of a weird circumstance. Jordan Leavitt, you guys probably remember him for losing to Chase Hooper, for fighting Paddy Pimblett. He's been in the UFC for a bit. He's got good jiu-jitsu. He's absolute crap on the feet. He beat Kurt Holloway last time out in a fight where I think I took Kurt against him. But I'm going to go with Yadier Del Valle over Jordan Leavitt. I think that Yadier is a better fighter. And what can I really say other than that? He could get him on the ground. He could knock him out. I think there's a lot of ways for Yadier Del Valle to win this fight. So I'm going to take him over Jordan Leavitt. I just don't think that Jordan's going to have an easy time with Yadier Del Valle. All right, we move up to the welterweight division. We have Phil Rowe versus John Paul Lebosnoyani. All right, Phil Rowe, the Fresh Prince. Phil Rowe's like win one, lose two type of guy. You never really know what you're going to get with him. Last time out, he fought the Korean guy, Sho Young Ko, where he got absolutely messed up. And before that, he fought Angelusa in a fight where he was also getting kind of messed up, and then he found a way to win, which is great. He was able to TKO Angelusa, and I actually took Phil Rowe in that fight, so I was really happy about that. Before that, he lost to Jake Matthews and Neal Magny. He has wins against Nico Price, Jason Witt. What I can say is we don't have too much footage on John Paul Lebosnoyani. He's probably, let's see what the odds are in this fight. He got a knockout last time out on the Dana White's Contender Series versus Jack Congon. Don't know who that is. But John's a minus 215 favorite. I think there's perhaps money in a Phil Rowe pick. I'm not going to do it. I think there's more ways for John Paul to win. I can see him... Phil Rowe can do things. Like, he can surprise you by... I don't know. He can just surprise you in moments. But I think that John Paul will find the chin of Phil Rowe. I think he'll be able to wobble him and probably get him out of there. If not, it'll be a unanimous decision. Phil Rowe's sometimes a good underdog pick, but I can't, in good conscience, pick him against John Paul. So we're going to move up the card. We move up to the welterweight division. We have Ramiz Brahimaj versus Punhel Soriano. Ramiz Brahimaj is sort of a dark horse in the welterweight division. And Punhel Soriano is not bad either. But Ramiz Brahimaj is on a 3-fight win streak versus Austin Vanderford, Billy Ray Goff, and Mickey Gall. Gotta love me some Mickey Gall. While Soriano won a decision against Nikolai Veretnikov, who Veretnikov just beat Nico Price, but before that, very blotchy UFC career, like not good fight IQ. Before that, he was able to fight he fought Uros Medic, who was on this card as well, which is a good win, able to TKO him. And before that, he fought Michel Beza, where he beat him in a unanimous decision. He's fought people like Dustin Stolfus, Roman Kopylov, Brendan Allen. A lot of good opponents that he's lost to. Both guys are on 3-fight win streaks. I'm going to take a look at the odds. Ramiz Brahimaj is a minus 136 favorite. I do think that he's going to win this fight. I kind of really do want to take him by guillotine. I feel like he's better on the ground than Soriano is. I want him to get off one of those guillotines on Soriano. So I'm going to go with a Ramiz Brahimaj guillotine in the second round. I do think he's going to win this fight. I'm quite confident in that pick. And he's a dark horse in the division, and I'd like to see him, get ranked and see how he fares against a better competition. So we'll move up the card. Oh, God. We have Nora Cornhole versus Joselyne Edwards. Joselyne Edwards probably better than Leon Edwards is at this point. But, Joselyne Edwards is probably a very heavy favorite in this fight, I can imagine. She's only a minus 310. Nora Cornhole lost to Carol Rosa last time out via unanimous decision. Before that, she has a win against Haley Cohen. And before that, she lost to Jacqueline Cavalcanti. I don't want to spend too much time on this. I think Joselyne Edwards, while she's had some stinky performances against girls like Island Perez and formerly Nora Cornhole, where she lost a unanimous decision to her, I think she has improved a lot more recently. And this will be a much different fight this time around. While From Nora, I kind of see the same fighter that she was in her previous... She just has the exact same style. I feel like Joselyne Edwards is a different version of herself. So I'm going to trust in that. And I'm going to go with a decision for Joselyne Edwards. Over 2.5 rounds. I think she'll touch her up on the feet, win the striking battle, and it'll go to a decision, 29-28. Perhaps Nora wins a round. We move up. Osbourne versus Alibi Idris. Osbourne, I saw a post from him or to do with him that says he gets paid 75 and 75. That's his deal. I don't believe that at all. 75 grand to show, 75 grand to win. Osbourne. Anyways, I just thought that was nice to put out there. I missed a fight. Before we get to Osbourne, we have to go to the flyweight division. We have Alden Coria versus Luis Gurriel. Luis Gurriel fought Jesus Aguilar last time out, and then also fought Osbourne, who we'll be talking about next. Lost to both those guys, one on the Contender Series against Nick Pacini, and he goes up against Alden Coria, who we last saw beat Alessandro Costa that was Noche UFC. I'm going to go with Alden Coria. Won't spend too much time on this. This will be an easy fight for the Cobra. I believe he'll be able to get an early knockout over Luis. So we'll go with a first round knockout for Alden Coria before we move up to the fight that we were previously talking about. Osbourne versus Alibi Idris. Osbourne last fought Steve Erceg in a fight where he was doing very, very well until Steve Erceg adapted a Umar Nurmagomedov-esque type fight style to win the fight, where he was looking for the takedown, just trying to secure control over Osbourne, who was able to hurt Steve Erceg very early in their fight. Osbourne sometimes has very bad decision-making skills, and his fight IQ can be in question. He's got a lot of losses in his UFC career, and especially when you look recently, in his last 5, he's won 1 fight. So that's not very good. But the guy he goes up against, Alibi Idris, fought Joseph Morales on the Contender Series, but not on the Contender Series. Sorry, on the Duplessis versus Chimaev card last time out. Why did I say champion? That was just and he got submitted by Joseph Morales. Alibi he also has bad fight IQ. When I was watching that fight, like, he didn't make good decisions in that fight. Like, he swung very wildly at points. That worries me a lot for a guy who has a lot of experience. He has a very good record, being 11-1, but these aren't fights in the UFC. Okay, you know what? Ali Idris hasn't proven much. He is a minus 136 favorite. I think it's important to take at least a couple underdogs on each and every card, which makes it fun. At least one. So this is going to be my underdog pick. I'm going to take Osbourne over Alibi Idris, and I'm going to take him by decision. He needs to be smart. He needs to be diligent, but he has the tools to beat Alibi from what I've seen. And we're going to go with Osbourne. If he doesn't win this fight, he's out of the UFC, 1,000%. All right, we move up to the welterweight division. We have Chidi Njokuani versus Carlos Leal. I took Carlos Leal last time to knock out Muslim Sahilikov, the 42-year-old, and then he got knocked out, Carlos Leal. Before that, Carlos beat Alex Morono, and then went to an extremely close fight with Renat Faktorinov, where he lost a unanimous decision, which I thought should have been a split, and he could have won. Renat's no longer in the UFC. Chidi Njokuani on the other side, his last time he lost to Jake Matthews via rear naked choke. Before that, he had wins against Elizia dos Santos, Jared Gooden, and Reese McKee. I'm going to go check the odds quickly. Carlos Leal is a minus 138. Oh, this is very tough for me. This is a bit of a pick'em in my eyes. I think this can go one of two ways, and I'm going to pick... Oh, God. I'm going to pick Chidi Njokuani to win this fight against Carlos Leal. Hopefully he plays a smart game. I don't think that Carlos Leal will be going for any takedowns in this fight. So I think it'll be maybe an entertaining fight. Perhaps maybe even like one of the better fights on the card. If it goes to a decision, it'll be rough and close. But I'm going to take Chidi and Njokuani either by a knockout or decision in this fight. Tough. Very tough to call, but that is what I'm going to go with. We move up. This is another tough fight. Zachary Reese versus Michel Pereira. So Michel Pereira has looked like absolute poop in his last 3 fights. He fought Anthony Hernandez, who's fighting in the main event of this card, where he lost to him by elbows in the 5th round. He fought Abus Magomedov in a very lackluster fight where he wasn't it just looked like he was sort of out of it the entire time. He didn't really try and do anything and sort of just let the fight go by. Lost that fight. Went out, fought Kyle Daukaus, who had not fought for a long time, let alone seen a win, and then he just got knocked out immediately. So that's where Michel Pereira is at. Zachary Reese last time fought Jackson McVeigh, who, hasn't won a fight in the UFC. He was getting touched up at the beginning of that fight, but Zachary Reese has these elbows these that he throws that are very helpful, in the clinch. He's very tall in his frame, so when he throws those elbows and they hit you in the face, they cut you up. So that's what happened with Jackson McVeigh. He was able to get him with some elbows and then get the submission on him. Before that, he fought Cedricus Dumas, where he kicked him in the balls, and then that fight ended with Cedricus Dumas going out on a stretcher. Beat Dusko Petrovic, lost to Asmat Bakoyev. He's beat Jose Daniel Medina, Julian Marquez, the Cuban missile. These guys fucking suck. This is really tough. And I know that Zachary Reese is probably going to be favored in this fight because Michel Pereira has just looked. Zachary Reese is a plus 122, and Michel Pereira is a minus 156 favorite. Ihor Peteria, Mikhail Orjancic, Andrei Petrovsky, he has good wins. Has Zachary Reese looked really good in his last couple fights? Not particularly, and they're not particularly good fighters. It's just Michel Pereira's an idiot. So if he comes out there and just does what he normally does, backflips, just goes wild, he's just going to get knocked out by Zachary Reese. But I don't know. This is really tough for me to pick. I'm going with Michel Pereira. For a classic Michel Pereira performance over Zachary Reese. Don't bet on that, please. I know Michel Pereira's lost his last 3, but he has beaten some good opponents. And if he doesn't act like a complete idiot, I think he has the tools to deal with a Zachary Reese, who I don't think is particularly good at any particular thing. But this is a really risky pick. And even though Michel Pereira is a favorite, I'm having a very hard time picking him. But I'm going to go with him either by a flash TKO or a decision. We move up the card. All right, Jacobe Smith. I like Jacobe Smith. He doesn't have odds for his fight. But he goes up against Josiah Harrell, who's first, so the muscle hamster is going to be taking on Jacobe Smith for his first fight in the UFC, and he's going to get tossed up. I don't see it happening another way. It's just a matter of when. It could be one of those fights where a guy comes in and he's just got a fire lit under his ass and he decides to go to a crazy fight with a prospect. But I see this going Jacobe Smith's way, whether it be a unanimous decision or a finish. I think he'll probably be able to get a finish at the end of the first round. We're going to go with a TKO for Jacobe Smith, moving up to the heavyweight division. Okay, we have Ante Delija versus Sergey Spivak. Ante Delija, sparring partners with Tom Aspinall's last time out. He fought Waldo Cortez Acosta. Kind of a controversial fight where as he was knocking out Waldo Cortez Acosta, he poked him in the eye, and we thought as viewers that the fight had been stopped, but after deliberating, they resumed the fight, in which there was a huge adrenaline dump on Ante Delija's side, and he got TKO'd by Waldo Cortez Acosta. So he's taken some time off after that. He came into the UFC a little later in his career, but he started off hot. Who did he beat in his first fight? Yeah, Marcin Tybura, who's always a tough test. He goes up against Sergey Spivak, who's had a hard run of it. Last time out, he fought Waldo Cortez Acosta long time ago, almost a year, but not quite yet, where he lost a unanimous decision. I thought some people were upset about that, thought that Sergey Spivak won, but no. Waldo Cortez had the volume in that fight, and we bet on him as well. Before that, he lost to Jailton Almeida via TKO, which is kind of crazy, but I believe there was a time when Jailton Almeida didn't just used to sit in half guard. He actually used to try and do something with his takedowns. But yeah, his last one came against Marcin Tybura back in 2024. He's always a tough test for guys. He fights the dudes in the division, and he's like right there, kind of like hanging around in the top 10. Here's what I think about this fight. I think that the ground game will nullify itself. Like, I don't think Sergey Spivak is that much better than Ante Delija on the ground. I really don't. Like, Sergey he just kind of holds guys there, and I don't really even see this fight going to the ground much. Ante Delija, I think, has the striking advantage over Sergey Spivak. So I'm going to go with him via unanimous decision over Sergey Spivak. He could find the TKO over Sergey, so there's that possibility. But yeah, it's a heavyweight fight, guys. They're going to get tired. It's going to be sloppy. And hopefully we're right about it. I think Ante Delija will have the tools to get the job done against Sergey Spivak, the polar bear. We move up to the featherweight division. Melquizael Costa versus Dan Ige. We are coming in at a minus 215. Also, Ante Delija is a minus 160 favorite. Yada, yada. Melquizael Costa is a minus 215 favorite over Dan Ige. This is tough for me. Melquizael Costa, I've taken him his last couple. Morgan Charrier, which was an easy fight for him. Julian Erosa, Christian Rodriguez, Andre Fili, Shailen Nurdabayek. He's on a 5-fight win streak, and Dan Ige beat Sean Woodson, not last time out. The last time out he fought Patricio Pitbull, and he lost a unanimous decision where, like, honestly, he could have won that fight. Very boring fight. This is what I've always said about Dan Ige. Sometimes he doesn't, the fight IQ, he doesn't pull the trigger at the right times. Like, he's in a fight, he has a round, he just needs to win one more, and he just doesn't do enough. I don't trust him against Melquizael Costa. I think Melquizael Costa is very good, and he has multiple ways he can win this fight. Dan Ige is always tough. He doesn't really get finished. It doesn't really happen. So I think in Dan Ige's fashion, he's going to lose a decision where perhaps he, wins a round, needs one more round, but Melquizael Costa will do the things that he needs to do in order to win more rounds than Dan Ige. I think it'll go to a decision. I don't think Melquizael Costa will be able to stop Dan Ige, but I think he'll be able to win. It could be one of those fights where Dan Ige, comes from behind and wins, and that would be huge for him because I don't know how this will be. If he loses this fight, he's 1-5 in his last 5. So that's not good. So he could be cut from the UFC. I like Dan Ige. I just, I worry a lot about the fight IQ. I've seen it too many times in his fights. So we're going to go with Melquizael Costa. 29-28 decision. We move up to the welterweight division, co-main event. I believe this was rebooked. I think Kevin Holland was supposed to fight Geoff Neal, something of the sort. And now we've got Uros Medic versus Hands of Steel Neal. Uros Medic, the doctor. If you pronounce his last name Medic, but it's pronounced Medic, I believe. I like that. Yeah, the doctor. But he's definitely not coming to save you because he's coming to knock you out. He's got his last 2 fights. He won his last 2 fights via KO. He beat Muslim Sahilikov, which I didn't think was going to happen. Beat Gerbert Urbina. Lost to Soriano, who's fighting on this card way down in the prelims. And he's beat Tim Means, Matthew Smellsberger. He lost to Mitabek Orablai. Lost to Jalen Turner. He's actually got a pretty decent record, Uros Medic. And Geoff Neal over here, I mean, he gets put up against some rough guys. Like, he started off his UFC career very hot. First lost against Stephen Thompson in a entertaining fight. Loses to Neil Magny. Beats Ponzinibbio and Vicente Luque. Fights Shavkat. Gives Shavkat his first little bit of a test. Like, he hit Shavkat a couple times. Fights Ian Gary. Tough test for Ian Gary. Beats Rafael Dos Anjos. Knocks him out. Then they put him against Carlos Praches. Geoff Neal's doing okay. gets knocked out by Carlos Prochas. I need to look at the odds quickly. Here's the problem with this fight. Geoff Neal is knockout prone, but he's knockout prone to guys like Carlos Prochas or, well, he didn't get knocked out by Shavkat Rakhmonov. Yeah, I don't see Uros Medic being able to knock out Geoff Neal. I think he's going to be too smart in this fight. And it's really tough. Uros Medic is also coming in on kind of short notice. Not that he hasn't fought in a while, so he's probably, somewhat well-trained. But I don't know. I think it could be a very entertaining fight where the two go at it. But I'm going to go with Geoff Neal over here. Some of these fights are actually tough where I think there's a good case to be made for the other guy. But I think that Geoff Neal is going to be able to get it done against Uros Medic. And that's probably going to be via decision. Yeah, I see Geoff Neal fighting very smart here. They could just go at it and someone gets TKO'd, in which case I hope Geoff Neal is the one TKOing Uros Medic. I will say that there is a little part of my brain that's screaming Uros Medic KO, but it's not loud enough for me to take it. So take that into consideration as you will. Maybe you'll pick Uros Medic by KO. This brings me to the main event. We have Sean Strickland versus Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. Let's go. So, people see Anthony Hernandez as a guy with the wrestling to give Khamzat Chimaev's problems in the 185-pound division. We haven't gotten any movement from Khamzat Chimaev in almost 8 months since he fought Dricus du Plessis, and it's more than likely that he's going to be fighting Nasruddin Imavov for the title. Hopefully they announce that sometime soon. But perhaps the winner of this fight is next up, because yeah, that's just the way that it looks to be. So I think a lot of people want Anthony Hernandez to win this fight so they can see that wrestling style versus Khamzat. That would be fun. However, I think that's going to be extremely tough. Anthony Hernandez is on a 7-fight win streak. I'm also just odds quickly. Wow. Sean Strickland's a plus 30. Anthony Hernandez is a minus 310. Oh, God. Let's talk this through. Okay, Anthony Hernandez beat Roman Dolidze last time out in a fight where I took him. An MMA guru took Roman Dolidze, which is possibly the worst prediction I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, I'm gonna, Roman Dolidze was able to do absolutely nothing, and Anthony Hernandez just threw him around the cage until he submitted him. Before that, he fought Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen has absolute crap fight IQ. He took the first round, I believe, off of Anthony Hernandez, and then he just goes for things that he shouldn't in certain positions. Like, Brendan Allen's an absolute idiot sometimes. He's beat Michel Pereira, who's fighting on this card, 3-fight losing streak, even though we took him. Kind of a sloppy fighter, fight IQ. He's fought Roman Kopylov, who's been losing a bunch recently, not a great fight IQ. Edmund Shabazian, who just beat Jin Young Park. Edmund Shabazian's pretty good, but he's lost some fights. Marc-Andre Beirut, who just lost Mark Friend, and Rodolfo Vieira, who's also lost recently. You have to take all this into consideration when looking at these 7 fights that he's won recently. And they are good wins, don't get me wrong, but we're going to get into it. Sean Strickland. Now, Sean Strickland, last time he fought Dricus du Plessis in their second fight, he had staph infection. We saw it on his arm. I knew it going into that, even though I stupidly picked Sean Strickland over Dricus du Plessis. I knew that this wasn't gonna happen after I saw him in the press conference. He admitted after he wasn't feeling very well, kind of explained himself in media week, how the UFC approached him with the fight, and you can't really say no. But yeah, before that, he beat Paulo Costa after coming back, after losing to Dricus the first time, in a fight where I think Sean Strickland was able to win that fight. Sean Strickland has very good takedown defense. This is something to really think about when thinking about this fight. His takedown defense is tremendous, and the people who he has grappled with in the gym, you can find this all over the internet. They'll say the same thing. He's very hard to take down, very hard to hold down. And in the first fight versus Dricus, it says here that Dricus has 6 takedowns against him, but watch back that fight and look how quickly Sean gets up. he spends no more than 20 seconds at a time on the bottom. He gets up very quickly. And there's not enough done to him on the ground for it to really matter to him. Well, that's why I thought he won that fight. He touched up Dricus du Plessis. Dricus' face was messed up. I didn't think he was able to control Sean Strickland enough for it to warrant the decision. But regardless, Sean Strickland has wins against Nasruddin Imavov. Granted, it was his first fight in the UFC, but Sean took that on a back-to-back fight card where he fought 2 times in like 2 weeks. He's beat Abus Magomedov. He beat Israel Adesanya, like, after Izzy had beaten Alex Pereira. Like, he's beat Jack Hermanson. He's beat Uriah Hall, Brendan Allen. Like, he's beat a lot of guys. And the thing is with this fight is Anthony Hernandez definitely does not have the striking advantage against Sean Strickland. This fight, it's going to be tough. Anthony Hernandez gets a majority of his finishes by he's able to take you down. He gets you, he controls you on the ground. He starts elbowing you from the side, gets inside control. He does all that. And that's not a position that Sean Strickland finds himself in a lot. Never. Like, you go look back at a fight and try and find it, because it hasn't happened to him. So this is going to need to be a first-time thing for him. Anything that Anthony Hernandez is going to do to Sean Strickland, it'll have to be a first in this fight in order for him to win. And that's kind of my thing. Anthony's going to have to deal with the volume from Sean. He's going to have to deal with the takedown defense from Sean. Very good at getting up from bottom position, which is where Anthony Hernandez gets a lot of his best work done. I'm very worried for Anthony Hernandez, and it's crazy to see how much of a favorite he is. I'm going with Sean Strickland in this fight. This is a big underdog pick at a -300, and I'm probably going to throw some cash on it. Sean Strickland looks very calm coming into this week. Fluffy looked really good in his last performance against Roman Dolidze. I think Sean Strickland is really good. I can see this fight going all 5 rounds and it being a very close decision, genuinely, where Anthony Hernandez is able to win perhaps some of the middle rounds. But we know that Sean Strickland has a very good gas tank. I'm going to mention it again, the takedown defense, the volume. He doesn't spend time on that bottom position much. So we're going to have to see something that we have not seen happen to Sean Strickland in this fight in order for Anthony Hernandez to win. So I actually think that the odds are a little bit, they're very interesting. Perhaps this is taking into account that Sean Strickland hasn't fought in a year. And, you know, the last time he fought, he didn't look all that great. But he had staph infection. It seems like he's completely healthy coming into this fight week. And, yeah, we're going with Sean Strickland as an underdog pick for this week. And I'm super excited about it, guys. I'll throw up my parlays in either a short or put it on my community post. But that will be the rundown for Sean Strickland versus Anthony Hernandez this weekend. Let's go. Basement Breakdown out.